1 second. All right. So like I said, I'm the chair for the Tustin Chamber of Commerce. I'd like to thank all the candidates for their time tonight. Thank you guys so much for being here. A few things before we start. I just want to go over some of the rules and the outline for this evening. Okay. All candidates and those in attendance are expected to be courteous and respectful at all times. Otherwise, we're going to have to ask everybody to leave. We have our staff in the back for security, just in case it gets a little too rowdy. I don't think that's going to happen tonight, though. We have a lot of nice faces in the crowd. Please refrain from any applause or cheering until the very end of the event. I'll be timing all responses and will indicate when candidates have 15 seconds left and then when candidates have their time up, okay? No food or drinks are allowed in the chambers, but we will have some light refreshments at the end of the forum out front. There's also bathrooms outside to the sides. I'd now like to welcome our moderator for the evening, Melody Mosley. Melody Mosley has lived in Santa Ana with her family for the past 35 years. She's been a participating attorney for 38 years in the area of insurance law. Melody serves on the board of Family Promise, which is an organization that provides food, services, and shelter to homeless families in Orange County. Melody, would you please take over for the evening?
Good evening, candidates, and good evening, everybody who came out to attend. It's a pleasure to be here. We're going to start tonight with opening statements from each of the candidates, and you will each have 3 minutes. So the first one is candidate Davis.
Thank you. Before I talk to you tonight about our schools, I do have a personal thank you that I want to give to our community. Many of you know that my youngest grandson was born 15 months ago with a rare disease that meant he would need to have a liver transplant within the first few years of his life. In response, so many people reached out to us by telephone, by card, by email, and to let us know that they were praying for our grandson Ezra. These prayers unquestionably strengthened our entire family during this challenging situation. The good news, he got his liver at the 11th point in early July, and he was home in time for his birthday. Now his feeding tube has been removed for the first time since he was very young, and he lives a normal life. We are grateful for every prayer. We are amazed at how many people who never have met Ezra and may never meet him showed their concern. And to us, this shows our community's commitment to each and every child, no matter whose child it is. I firmly believe that this commitment that is shared by every educator in the school district, that the schools belong to each and every child, and no matter their circumstances or background, that we must strive to provide them with the best education possible. It is at the heart of our success as a school district. The result is a school district that is one of the key reasons why Forbes magazine named us one of the 25 best places for families, and the only one in California. We all know of our graduation rates and all the other statistics that we have, but it's not about statistics. I'm not motivated by statistics. What's important is what this top performance means to individuals who are part of our community. Because Tustin Unified produces top-level educational results year after year, our community members benefit tremendously. Because we do so well, in 2022, our high school seniors had 145 more of them receive their diploma than if we were merely average. When it comes to going to college, 645 more young people from among our graduates will be attending college than if we were merely average. I've been pleased to be part of a leadership team that enables TUSD to bring about such student success. What does this mean for the people in our community? What does it mean for their future, for their ability to support their children? It means the world for each one of them. And that's why to me, it's important that we continue to the success of Tustin Unified, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Next is school board candidate Kelly Felton.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for the Tustin Chamber of Commerce for hosting this tonight. I'm running for school board as a new candidate because I'm a parent in Tustin, and I have 2 kids enrolled in the school district, and I'm an educator myself. So I teach college-level sciences, and I approach every problem as a problem solver with a scientific method. I looked at our school district, and I noticed some problems, and I wanted to look toward our leadership to see what they were doing towards our solutions. So I started attending school board meetings. And I noticed that the school board meetings were not attending to parents' voices. And so as a parent and an educator myself, I decided that I can run for the school board and be the parent voice that we need on the school board. I also don't need to have statistics and numbers in front of me to know that after every single number and every single 0 and 0 and 0 is a student, is a child, is a family. And so we do need to put our children first and put education first. I believe in teaching fundamentals. We need to focus on math and science and English and reading, and we need to focus on our special needs students as well. We have many, many gifts in Tustin, and we are blessed to be on the Forbes list. I'm super proud to be a Tustinite.
Thank you. Were you finished? Sorry, please go ahead.
Okay. I'm looking forward to serving our community and focusing on education basics and putting the voice, being the voice for the parents and putting children first in our community. I do believe that parents are the primary educators of their children, and they have parental rights all the way until they're 18. Thank you.
Next is candidate for mayor, Becky Gomez.
Thank you very much. Thank you to the Chamber for holding this event for the community. I grew up in a working-class neighborhood where I spent much of my youth at the local park, playing sports and learning the valuable teamwork, cooperation, and communication skills. I recognize the value parks and public services can provide to a neighborhood. I was elected to the Tustin City Council in 2010 and served through 2018 and re-elected in 2020. As a trustee for the Orange County Board of Education, I represented the 1st District, including Tustin, Santa Ana, and portions of other cities from 2016 to 2022. I currently represent the city of Tustin on the Orange County Mosquito and Vector Control Agency and the Orange County Library Advisory Board. Previously, I served as the chair of the Library Advisory Board and the Executive Committee on the Santa Ana River Flood Protection Agency. I'm the council's liaison to the Tustin Area Senior Center Fund, and the council named me the voting delegate to the California League of Cities for the past 2 years. As a trustee, I served as the board's liaison to the Orange County PTA, the representative to the Orange County School Board Association, and the California County Board of Education. I've been actively involved in many professional and community organizations. My colleagues elected me to serve as the president of the Greater Orange County Health Information Association twice, and have served on various state and professional committees. I previously served as the president of the Tustin Public Schools Foundation, Tustin South Bobby Sox, Tustin High Academic Boosters, TUSD Coordinating Council, and 2 PTAs. And I've served on various community boards as well. I have been a longtime youth coach with Tustin South Bobby Sox, Tustin Girls Softball, ASO, and NJB. I've held various management and consulting positions in hospitals, ambulatory clinics, and a national home health agency. Multiple groups have recognized my work in my professional, volunteer, and elected roles. I'm the past recipient of the National William J. Olston Award for Excellence in Record Management and the Core Values winner for commitment to our shareholders from Tokos Medical Corporation. The Orange County Register named me as one of the 100 most influential in 2020. In 2021, the California Health Information Association recognized me as Educator of the Year. This year, I received the Orange County School Board Association's Marion Burgson Award for Outstanding School Board Member and the inaugural Cesar Chavez Award from the Orange County Department of Education. My teaching career started as an adjunct and then a tenured faculty member, the program director for the Health Information Technology Program, and the staff development coordinator. Later, I served as the Dean of Health Science at Cypress College until 2021. I have an undergrad degree from UCLA School of Public Health, which came in handy over the past couple years. I hold an MS in Healthcare Administration, an MA in Sports Management, and a PhD in Law and Public Policy. I have lived all over California, but I chose Tustin. My husband, John McEwen, and our 3 children have made Tustin our home since 1988. However, through all my years of coaching, I have several hundred children I call my own. Thank you.
So the guy in the middle is the Chamber of Commerce president.
I'm assuming this is time right now, right? If you can hear us on Zoom, one of you's unmiked, and so you just turn my mic off. If you're on Zoom, can you please put yourselves on mute because we are hearing comments here in the chamber. I'll wait for you to get situated. Thank you. I want to start by thanking the Chamber of Commerce as well for putting this event on tonight, thanking the city for providing the venue, and thanking all of my fellow candidates that are up here on the dais this evening. You know, it's not easy to run for public office. It's certainly not easy to be in public office, but running for office and running a campaign is often a thankless job, and you got to put yourself out there, and it's commendable. So thank you all for being here and for your passion for our community. A little bit about me. I'm not going to go through my resume. We have the candidate statements in your program and on all of our websites, but I was elected in 2018 to serve on the Tustin City Council. Before that, served on the Planning Commission for 6 years, twice as its chair. I was also a reserve deputy with the Orange County Sheriff's Department for 5 years. I'm an attorney, a businessman. Most importantly, though, I'm a husband and a father of 5. Kelly, I think you said you have 2 in the school district. I currently have 3, so I'm interested in hearing some of the plans tonight. And I have 2 more that are coming behind them. The oldest is 11, and we have 5. I also want to thank my wife. You know, when you're in office, and some of us up here know that, it's not about you, it's a team effort. You know, right now, my wife is on a sports field listening on Zoom. My son Hunter is at Blue Buoy Swim School taking swim lessons with Johnny Johnson's son Eric. You know, it's really a sacrifice from everybody involved, not just the person with the title, the person in the office. So thank you to my wife, Colleen. And this election is not about me. This election is always about the voters and the community. You know, this year, you get to pick your mayor in Tustin for the first time in our city's history. We could go on and on about our past accomplishments and our accolades and achievements, but what I think you really want to hear is what we plan to do for you and what the city is doing currently that's so great. You've already heard twice that Tustin was ranked the #1 city in the state of California for families to live in with families. That's a tremendous accomplishment, and things are going very well, and I hope to keep it that way. You know, we moved to Tustin, and we live in Tustin, and we work in Tustin because it's a charming place. It's a Mayberry, or I like to call it the eye of the storm. We have some crazy cities around us, but in Tustin, you run into your neighbors at the grocery store. You help each other out. You pray for people. And I love my town, and our 5 kids are here to grow up and to stay, and I'm really looking forward to the honor of serving you for the next 4 years. Real quick, some of the cool things that have happened in the last 4 years. We have balanced our budget each and every year despite COVID. We've hired more cops and paid down our unfunded pension liability while balancing our budgets. We've taken action on the military base, securing the 85 acres around the North Hangar, and calling our partners that have not made progress to the table. We found a more appropriate place for our homeless shelter, opened it, and it's been a model for the region as a success. On a more fun note, I'm going to take 10 seconds. We're opening a community garden soon, and we're opening our first dog park in the city's history. We're doing great things. I appreciate your support and look forward to serving you for 4 more years. Thank you.
Welcome, and I thank the Chamber of hopefully that won't count against me. It's a little, I guess I'll kind of sit back a little bit. I'd like to thank the Chamber of Commerce for hosting this today. Having walked door to door for several months, it is wonderful to see the kaleidoscope of cultures that now shape Tustin, many from faraway countries. The reasons for being here resonate with the themes of our campaign: safety, prosperity, and vision for the future. My grandparents fled a revolution over 100 years ago for similar reasons and opportunities. My parents taught me the value of an education and hard work, which led me to Cal State LA UCLA for my PhD in chemistry, and then Harvard for postdoctoral studies. For over 25 years, I've been a professor of chemistry at Cal State LA and now lead science, technology, engineering, and math initiatives at the California State University Office of the Chancellor for the 23-campus CSU system. My life has been focused on giving and helping our young people achieve their dreams. For over 30 years, I've given back to communities by serving on community-focused nonprofit boards. About 10 years ago, I met a wonderful woman on a blind date, but that story is for another time. When I'm here up on the dais in December, I'll tell you that. And never left. Prior to meeting Lorena, I served on first the Montebello School Board, then City Council, and was mayor. The times were tough, brought on by the crash of the housing market and poor budgetary decisions prior to my being elected. I am proud I helped save the city from declaring bankruptcy and being taken over by the state. A flyer was recently mailed with lies distorting my record. This out-of-town special interest group, the California Homeowners Association, is hence supporting my opponent. They are neither friends of you nor Tustin. You should decide who represents you, not outsiders. This election is about experience, leadership, and character of the candidates and how their decisions will impact your well-being. We have issues to deal with here: the need for affordable housing and a climate action plan, helping those who have been affected by COVID and the resulting inflation, and rethinking ways to increase our revenues to support our infrastructure, police, and first responders. These other distractions take us away from business of governing. And I've governed for 8 years in harder and very difficult times. Jonathan Abelov, Allison Demichelis, Barry Cooper, Katie Porter, Lynn over there. We have support from Democrats, Republicans, and independents from a diversity of cultural backgrounds. No other candidate in District 3 has that similar support from a wide swath of people from all political persuasions. To learn more about our campaign, go to frankgomezfortustin.com. I humbly ask for your vote. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. I want to echo what Austin said, as I want to thank all my fellow candidates that are up here, putting ourselves out, being the person in the arena, and then having our spouses, significant others, children supporting us. Because again, when you're out there in the public sphere, again, sometimes things are difficult, and again, you have to work very hard to earn the trust of the folks that you want to serve. So why am I running? I love Tustin. Austin mentioned it. I've been in Tustin for 10 years. I'm a dad, I'm a husband, and I love this town, I really do. It's idyllic, it's safe, it's friendly, it's rustic, and I'd like to see it stay that way. Probably the biggest reason for moving to Tustin was a combination of how safe it was with the open parks and the friendly neighborhoods, but also the school districts. So again, I'm very interested, like Austin said, to hear what the vision for the school system is as we move forward. But all this can be taken away very quickly. So we've seen over the course of the past couple of years how sleepy, idyllic towns, I think of Kenosha. No one even knew Kenosha, Wisconsin a few years ago. We don't need those types of things to come into Tustin. We need Tustin to be safe, we need it to be prosperous. And again, we want to make sure that that's the number one priority as folks that work on the city council. So a little bit about me. I grew up on Long Island. I'm the youngest of four. My father's a general in the Air Force, and he imparted upon us the traits of faith, family, hard work, and individual responsibility. And I've passed those along to my children. I remember my dad used to give me 50 cents to spit shine his 2 military shoes and his boots, and I thought that was great. I loved getting 50 cents. Fast forward, I moved out to California 20 years ago. I met my wife. I was in New York, she was in LA, worked for the same company. First person I ever dated at my company, and it worked out wonderfully. 17 years of marriage later, 2 beautiful daughters, 15 and 12. We couldn't be happier living out in California, living in this beautiful town called Tustin. I've been in District 3 for about, again, 10 years. I've served in a number of capacities on the Tustin Public Schools Foundation Board, on the Tustin Superintendent Advisory Board, the school site council, which raised discretionary funding for children and students that don't have as much. So my call to service, which was passed down from my father, and I've passed on to my children, is the reason why I'm doing this, is I want to serve my neighbors here in Tustin. Priorities, public safety. We want to make sure that we stay safe. We want to make sure that homelessness is handled in a humane fashion. Attainable housing, so that folks, new families can actually live here. And again, we want to make sure that the city of Tustin thrives. So again, I thank you very much for your time tonight and look forward to hearing from the rest of the folks on the dais.
Thank you all. Next, we're going to have a series of questions. The questions were submitted by community members. And I want to thank you all for keeping to your time commitment. The next section is going to be a little bit more difficult because you only have 1 minute to answer each question. And the first question is for the city candidates, and the question is, what is your stance on traffic problems and parking issues in our city? And first is candidate Lombard.
Thank you for the question. That's difficult to answer in 1 minute, but I will tell you that as my service as mayor, I appointed an ad hoc committee of the council members to look into parking solutions. We've been working with a consultant over the last 6 months to explore ideas of adding additional capacity, whether that's parking garages or something else. And I also understand that the state of California has many laws that Tustin can do nothing about that allows for additional housing, which is going to cause traffic and parking issues. So one of the most frustrating things serving your community is when you get mandates from the top down that don't work for the community. And like I said before, this election and the office of mayor should be about our town. We're doing everything we can on the council currently to come up with solutions. That includes reaching out to Caltrans to fix signal problems on Red Hill and the 5. That includes working with this consultant. The findings will be coming back to us in the next few weeks, but it's a very difficult problem. I understand it's a real problem for many communities, and we're working hard to address it. Thank you.
Candidate Gomez, Becky Gomez, same question. What is your stance on traffic problems and parking issues in our city?
Okay, thank you. I'm actually the one that's serving on the ad hoc committee on parking. There are some areas in our city that have multifamily homes, and there is a more significant impact on those neighborhoods than there are in the single-family neighborhoods. We should utilize parking permit where appropriate, but we must be mindful of any spillover to the adjoining neighborhoods. We need to enforce the current parking regulations and encourage people to use their garages. Cars should not be allowed to park on public streets for days at a time or for storage. We've done some short-term solutions on Browning at the end of Newport. We striped them as a diagonal parking, but again, a short-term solution. The council ad hoc committee is working with a parking consultant to determine how we can best implement some of these changes. But it is significant. We recognize it's a problem, and we're working to address it. Thank you.
Next is candidate Schnell.
Yes, thank you. I think, in listening to Austin and Becky talk about traffic and parking, and the one thing, those are quality of life issues. You want to make sure that people who come to visit Tustin and the folks that live here, when they go to Old Town Tustin or other parts, want to be able to find places, again, to park their cars, get out safely, walk their children into various restaurants and places to eat and celebrate the beauty of Tustin. I do agree that doing a planning commission and looking at what the impacts are by making some of these changes is critical, because you want the input from business, you want the input from citizens, so that when you do push forward a plan, it's a plan that works for all, not just for a few.
And next is candidate Gomez, Frank Gomez.
Somebody turned the mic on for me. Great. So I had put this in somebody who interviewed me. Certainly the issues here, I think, need to be balanced in terms of green, the environment, as well as how might we look at maximizing the use of bikes, walking. Really, we need to build and modify for the future. For example, by designing pedestrian safety, perhaps by splitting long blocks, improving sidewalks with trees and lighting, identifying streets by extending existing bike lanes, bike racks, for example, as well as integrating bus shuttles, and shuttle facilities going forward. In terms of parking, and specifically, I've seen and read a number of other cities of relatively same size that have been looking at the use of smart parking sensors that would allow for providing more information so that people would know if there is availability of parking in a certain region. Thank you.
The next two questions are for the school board candidates. And the first question is, what is your vision for education in Tustin? And first up is candidate Felton.
So my vision for education here in Tustin is to get back to the basics. We have a lot of political narratives that are being put in place in our district. Just recently, our board voted for transgenders to be put into competitive sports in our district, and without any foresight into the fiscal impact that will be impacted in our schools based on locker rooms and bathrooms that are associated with that. So I would like to get back to more math and science and English and looking at the test scores of proficiency. Our test scores for math right now are at 44% proficiency and 67% for English, for language arts proficiency. This is down from the last 10 years, and it's definitely a detriment to our students, even though our graduation rate hasn't moved. So these numbers are important to me, and I'm looking for a higher student success based on the needs of our community.
Candidate Davis, same question. What is your vision for education in Tustin?
When I think about education in Tustin, I think about not only our graduates, our two kids, two of my nieces, but also the three nieces that I still have in middle and elementary schools here in Tustin Unified. Fundamentally, there are three important reasons why we have public schools. One is to provide the skills and knowledge for economic success. Number two is to prepare people to be competent and responsible citizens of a democracy. And the third is to enable each human being to become the person they're meant to be, and that's why we do arts and music and all these other things. Many people do not know that Tustin Unified is a huge operation, $300 million budget. We're the largest employer in town. If we had to replace all of our assets, it would take billions of dollars. My background as having a master's in business administration from Harvard, having years of business and of experience in high-tech business, and being a corporate financial CFO directly enables me to make a unique contribution, as we all on the board have different backgrounds. One example has been that we have saved the taxpayers $40 million over the last 7 years by prudent refinancing of bond debt.
All right, the next question for the school board candidates is, where do businesses fit into Tustin's Unified School District's vision? And first up is candidate Davis.
I'm sorry, businesses?
Where do businesses fit into TUSD's vision?
Well, first of all, our Tustin Unified success makes it easier for businesses to recruit high-quality candidates to work to fill the positions in our business, because a lot of the things that people look at, one of the key things is where the kids can be educated, and to have a very strong school district here really helps that. You may be interested in knowing that our career education and technology education has become a very valuable part of our offerings to students, and it enables them to diversify their education. We have 15 career pathways. We have 60 industry specialists who are helping us out in that effort, and we could certainly use more help. We could use more internships for our students. We are taking steps to increase the career awareness of our students, so that when they go out and we're prepared ahead of time. They have some skills to start in their initial career. We've introduced a new school, an innovative school dedicated to technology, innovation, design, and entrepreneurship. And these are just some of the things that we've done to support business and the economy here in Tustin.
Okay. All right, the same question, where do businesses fit into TUSD's vision for candidate Felton?
So my vision for businesses is the interaction of students knowing where they want to work. My very first job here was in Tustin at Soup Plantation when I was in high school. And then I worked seasonal for Toys R Us and Costco. So these are the jobs that I got to go experience right here in Tustin. We have so many wonderful businesses. I've been a volunteer for the school district for several years, and I've noticed that the schools get donations from the businesses. And so there's been a lot of interaction between the businesses and the schools, and we appreciate all the donations. Over the years, with the problems of inflation and taxation, we've had less and less donations from our businesses. And so I think that's definitely an issue that we'll see as time goes on in our city, what we can do as a community to still serve the students and give them opportunities and even some exciting experiences.
Thank you. Next is a question for the city candidates. The question is it important to get residents involved in the decision-making of Tustin? And if so, why, and how would you do that? I know that's a lot to say in 1 minute, but first up is candidate Frank Gomez.
Thank you. Certainly, there's a wealth of knowledge and yearning for activism here in the city, and it's important that we have leaders that can draw out that activism and knowledge. Yes, it is important. Having served already 8 years in public service, it's great to have people, this should be filled tonight. I used to have monthly town halls, weekly office hours, meet with my previous city's local groups, the Lions, the Kiwanis, the Elks, Rotarians, Optimists, et cetera, places of worship, as well as senior citizens groups. I think all of us need to be engaged as a community to make decisions for the betterment of all of us move forward. Thank you.
Next up is candidate Schnell, and I'll read the question one more time. Is it important to get residents involved in the decision-making of Tustin? If so, why, and how would you do this?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, one of the key pillars of my campaign is government accountability and transparency, and part of that is having decisions that are being made that affect all of the city of Tustin. We want input from the citizens that are here, and we want them to be able to come in, talk to the representatives, and make sure that the decisions that we are making are positive and they're impacting them in wonderful ways. So, I mean, I would have an open door policy, just like I do in business. I'd have an open door policy for my constituents to come in, talk to me, give me their feedback and their thoughts, and then in consultation with the rest of the council members, make a decision that's best, again, for all of Tustin.
Same question, candidate Becky Gomez.
Thank you. First of all, I think it's absolutely important that we get feedback from our residents. When I'm in the park, at the market, when I'm walking, I often talk to neighbors or other people that I come across. As I've been walking precincts, I ask people if they have questions about the city. Most of the time they don't until I'm ready to walk away, and then they have a question. And so it's really informative to find what people's concerns are. I welcome public comments before the council, and I take notes. When I'm asked to speak to various groups or to tour a business or a community agency, I'll accept those invitations. It's important to have an understanding of the community and their organizations and their various concerns. And most people, they won't volunteer until you ask them. And so it's important that we ask our residents what they need and what their concerns are.
Thank you. Same question, candidate Lombard.
The answer to your question is absolutely. We rely on resident input for all of our decisions. To think that 5 city council members have all the answers is ludicrous. In addition to everything that's already been said, when I was elected to city council, I made it a priority to be open and available. And I actually respond to emails that come into City Hall. And sadly, when I started doing that, I often got responses, "Thank you for just replying." It's the first time that anybody's ever responded to me. And that's a tragedy. I have in-person, virtual, telephone, office hours. I push stuff out on social media, and when people comment, I respond to them, and I ask them for their opinion. I do not have all the answers. My job is to work as your mayor, to represent you, to come up with the best possible solutions to the issues facing us, and I think we're making a little bit of progress there on the council, but we've got a long way to go. Thank you.
The next question is for the 4 city candidates. The question is, how can Tustin be more business-friendly? First, candidate Becky Gomez.
Well, first off, I hope we're business-friendly. I regularly attend the chamber mixers to hear from the business community. I also go to the local realtors group to hear and get their feedback. They often have questions about different ordinances that we're discussing. I've responded to local businesses' concerns about permits. One was about sidewalk dining, and this was several years ago, so before the pandemic. One had a question about their alcohol permit. We don't do that, county does, but we hooked them up and got that solved. When Foothill Regional was updating their facility and trying to get their emergency department open, I sit on the Orange County Medical Care Committee, and I help them navigate that as well. They also had a question about their MRI machine. We helped them solve that. So again, we're looking at different ways we can help our businesses to make them more viable and vibrant for our community. Thank you.
Same question. How can Tustin be more business-friendly? For candidate Lombard.
Similar to the last, listen to people, respond when they have issues. And during my tenure, without repeating everything I just said, during my tenure, we've increased our outreach as a city. We've actually got an email list, and we use it now. We ask residents and businesses what their opinion is on upcoming votes. We ask for public comment, and we actually listen. The outdoor dining program that we approved last month, the permanent outdoor dining program, was a result of our residents asking for these options and our restaurants saying, yes, we would like to do this. So I think we're addressing the issues, and I personally respond to emails. I don't pass it off to staff. I ask staff to do research, but I am responsible for the answer, and I'm going to continue to do that. Thank you.
Same question, candidate Frank Gomez.
Thank you. Perhaps the better question should be is, how can we better support and retain local business as well as attract new business? So I have a few ideas for that. Get zoning right, set aside space for local business in new development, facilitate adaptive reuse of vacant buildings, give preference to local business in purchasing, and expand access to capital. I also have an interest in developing a business recruitment team that would develop a purpose and work plan, work with staff on that would go out and develop recruitment and materials for marketing, help identify prospective tenants, host them, and then close the deal. Thank you.
Same question, candidate Ray Schnell.
Yeah, I'd say, from my governance philosophy, I've got an MBA in finance from Chapman University, is to have government reduce onerous regulations to allow businesses to actually flourish. So government should not get in the way of allowing businesses to do what they do best, which is their business. So again, if I'm fortunate enough to serve the citizens of Tustin, again, I would definitely want to focus on making sure that businesses that want to operate here have a very pro-business climate.
Thank you. The next 2 questions are for the school board candidates. And question 3 is the following. Where do you see issues with school safety and how do we address those issues? First, candidate Lynn Davis.
School safety has become a major concern, but it's not a new concern in Tustin Unified. Back in September 2014, we were the first school district in Orange County to hire mental health professionals to deal with some of the issues and problems that our students were having. Within a few months, that team had saved lives, had reduced suicides in our district. We've expanded since then from 3 people to 10. It is the first thing you need to have a safe school are healthy students, because most of the threats to school come from students who have mental or social issues or both. We've also, I want to point out that Monique Yessian who is our point person on school safety, received the one and only School Safety Award given to a school district by Orange County School Safety Conference this year. We are the leader in Orange County when it comes to school safety.
Same question, candidate Felton. I'll read it again. Where do you see issues with school safety, and how do we address those issues?
I've been out speaking with parents for the last few months, and I've gotten a lot of feedback on this, and I've had direct answers to this where something as simple as having the back gate manned by an adult who currently is not back there, having point of entrance and exit really clearly marked and not open is a concern for parents. I also have concerns where I've been hearing and talking to families where their children are scared to use the bathroom during the day. The bathrooms are not safe. They're disgusting, and they also have issues with children all being in there and harassing them, throwing trash cans on them and throwing things on the wall, and not let it being a safe environment for them. They have to avoid using the bathroom all day. Those are some simple things. I've also had issues where the campus safety questions come up, and we do have some wonderful sheriff, Don Barnes, who guarantees safety on our schools, so that's not going to be an issue, but these are some things that have been coming up in my time.
Thank you. All right, the next question is the following. How do you deal with philosophical or policy issues you don't agree with? First is candidate Felton.
Can you repeat the question?
Sure. How do you deal with philosophical or policy issues you don't agree with?
So philosophical questions is, a deep discussion. So for me, that just opens up for discussion. Like let's put the kids first and see how the policy is going to impact the children and the families that they live with in our community. So it's really just about the impact and putting the child first. When you put kids first, you're not going to be wrong. And so that's really what it's about. And also to be thorough in your investigation. If you look at the fiscal impact, the society impact that we're going to have. So philosophically, I don't have to agree with everything, but we have to look at the best answer for our community.
In candidate Davis, same question. How do you deal with philosophical or policy issues you don't agree with?
On our board, we have a very diverse board. Our longest serving member has a background as an HR executive. We have an engineer. We have a lawyer. We have a past president of the Chamber of Commerce. And I have a Harvard MBA and a corporate CFO background. And we have very different experiences, so we don't always agree. But we do trust each other. We trust each other because we have remained committed to the same overriding objectives for years, for student success, for student wellness, for recruiting top-level people. We trust our people. The job of we set a policy, and then it's the administrators and the teachers and the school employees who carry it out. And the great example was with Measure S, where I was the conceiver of Measure S. It took me 4 years to put it in shape. The board adopted it. But when I turned it over to the administrators, and in turn they turned it over to the teachers, they created in our total technology education system something I could never have dreamed of, taking it way beyond because I trusted them to do what they thought was best.
All right, the next question is for the city candidates, and the question is as follows. How can we better deal with homelessness as a community? First is candidate Ray Schnell.
Thank you. So homelessness is a very complex issue. The primary drivers of homelessness is addiction and mental illness, and I think it needs to be treated in a very humane fashion. I think the Tustin Police Department and the social services groups here do a wonderful job of humanely getting those folks off the streets and into shelters such as the OC Rescue Mission. There's also the Be Well OC. So I think it's critical that we continue to treat it, again, as a delicate issue, treat it in a humane fashion, and make sure that we're getting folks that do need the help they need, and try to get them reconnected with family and friends.
Same question, candidate Frank Gomez. And the question was, how can we better deal with homelessness as a community?
I think it's important for us to address the problem at the roots. Yes, mental health is a big issue for a lot of our homeless and really homeless across the United States. There is a policy called the Housing First Policy, which aims to move homeless from shelters to permanent housing and give people, get them back on their feet. This, of course, requires some city support as well as collaboration among city, county, developers, landlords, service providers, and additional partners. I think it's key that we find ways to partner with nonprofits locally, as well as do not just look at Tustin solely as trying to solve the problem, but see how we can collaborate with our neighboring cities, because these homeless people do move across our borders. Thank you.
Candidate Lombard, how can we better deal with homelessness as a community?
Thank you. I'd like to say that Tustin's actually leading on this issue. In 2018, when I was elected, our first meeting in this chamber, we voted to relocate a plan for a temporary homeless shelter that was next to an elementary school. That was a travesty. We moved it to a location that was appropriate for the community. It's been open since 2019, and it's been a great success. I agree with candidate Gomez here that we should be partnering with nonprofits, because we already are. We have Jim Palmer's operation, the Village of Hope and OC Rescue Mission on the Tustin base. I've already mentioned the shelter. We have the Veterans Outpost on Newport Avenue. We just approved a new police officer civilian position. That's the homeless liaison outreach officer, that we go in without a gun. We go in with a PhD and try to address the issues, as Mr. Schnell said. So Tustin is actually leading on this. We're not going to solve homelessness in Tustin. They are deep-seated issues that cause people to be homeless, but we can try to help. We can try to connect them with services, and that's what we're doing.
Same question, candidate Becky Gomez.
Thank you. We do have the temporary emergency shelter to assist those that are unhoused in a compassionate, respectful manner. We need to provide services to help these people get back on their feet with wraparound services such as job training and interviewing skills. We need to provide them health care to treat minor disease. We need to be able to refer them to resources for mental health. And I do agree with candidate Lombard that we did approve. That was something that I asked for in the last budget to provide that position so that we can de-escalate any issues that occur if we get a 911 call. But the effort to address homelessness really needs to be a regional effort, not a city-by-city solution. We need to partner with other organizations. And we really need to understand that there are other issues. I've come across, two acquaintances whose parents lost their home in the Paradise Fire and most recently in Fort Myers. These people are now homeless. So we need to figure out ways to partner with other government agencies to provide services for them. Thank you.
The next question is for the city candidates. And the question is, what are the biggest issues Tustin is facing today, and how do you plan to deal with them? First is candidate Frank Gomez.
I think the biggest issue here and in many cities is a lack of affordable housing. For those who can't afford to live here, they can purchase a home here. But for those who do not make that type of money, teachers, police officers, first responders, as well as those who cut our grass, take care of our children, and package our groceries, there really isn't as much opportunity there. The line is, if people do not have the money, they will not buy the stuff. Who will buy the stuff? If people do not have the housing, who will do the work? We also need to look at it from the lens of environmental effects of where we build, what we build, and how much we build, and what would be the long-term effects of building a lot. So, as I mentioned in a recent newspaper article, developing more multifamily housing, single-room occupancy units, as well as look at how we look at the tax abatements or exemptions for a specified time and rethinking our development fees.
Candidate Schnell, same question. What are the biggest issues Tustin is facing today, and how do you plan to deal with them?
So while I do agree that affordability is certainly an issue, I mean, I've got 2 daughters, 12 and 15, and they talk about, you know, when we go away to college, we'd love to come back home and be able to afford a house. But I'd say probably the penultimate consideration is keeping the city safe. If you don't have a safe city, you don't have a thriving city, you don't have businesses here, you don't have people who want to live in the city, and then your tax base basically erodes. You don't have the resources and the finance to do all the great things that we want to do in Tustin. I'm proud to say that I'm the only candidate running for city council here that has the full support and backing of local police and fire. They know that my commitment to public safety is absolute, both fire, police, and school safety. Thank you.
Same question, candidate Becky Gomez.
Thank you. I would have to say it would be housing. Tustin has done an excellent job of designating 20 to 25% affordable units for some of our new projects, but we still need to develop more workforce housing to allow our middle income folks, such as teachers and healthcare workers, to live and work in our community, which also helps alleviate some of the traffic issues. By creating more reasonable housing options, we can keep residents in our city and keep jobs local, which can contribute to the local economy. I recently spoke with the leader of the manufactured housing group to discuss the pros and cons of manufactured housing, just as another option to look at housing. Thank you.
Same question, candidate Lombard.
Thank you. The questions of the biggest issues facing Tustin. Housing is not it. It's a state issue that Tustin is actually doing a very good job on. Councilmember Gomez knows that we're in the middle of a negotiation for an apartment complex that would include 308 affordable homes. So we're already doing that. I think the issues that are important to Tustin are a rise in property and other crime, vacant lots in Old Town and elsewhere, blighted malls that we need to revitalize. And the other biggest issue in Tustin that's going to help with all that is developing the base faster and better and paying to hire more cops, to encourage businesses to revitalize their centers. We can pay for all of those things by doing better on the base.
The next two questions are for the school board candidates. And the first question is, how can we deal with bullying in schools? First, candidate Felton.
Our school district has an excellent policy on anti-bullying. The issue is it's not being enforced. And so enforcement of the policy for anti-bullying is really the first step. I also believe that training is going to be important too. You know, I think that teachers feel restrained from actually being able to act and discipline the students. The administration has been dealing with the discipline, and I think that we need to go through and reduce the bureaucracy and let the teachers discipline the students in their classroom and enforce the anti-bullying policy every time they see it. It's a zero tolerance policy, and it covers everything. So we don't need more policies on that. We just need to enforce the current policy we have. It's great.
Thank you. Candidate Davis, how can we deal with bullying in schools?
Well, as was just mentioned, we have an excellent anti-bullying policy. We also have at each school site a specific individual who has responsibility for focusing on reducing bullying at that site. We also have a state-of-the-art complaint procedure for dealing with issues that arise, and we do all of that. Some of the things that in addition that we do, we have a lot of effort right now in social and emotional learning. We're dealing with kids coming back from this pandemic, and we've had to do a lot of things to help them out that we didn't have to do otherwise. We doubled the length of our summer school availability. We tripled the number of sites that summer school was available at. Across the whole scope of things, when it comes to supporting teachers, by the way, we're second to none. We have done tons of professional development. We have we deal with. Okay. Well, what's most important to know is that we do have somebody at each site who's working on this problem. And one of the other problems we have is the divisions between different groups that are encouraging bullying, and some people are more divisive than others. Let's put it that way.
All right, the next question is, what are the major issues facing TUSD and how can we overcome them? Candidate Davis, you're first.
Education, even before the pandemic, education was changing faster than nearly any other business, with the possible exception of journalism. We have had new methods for teaching reading. We have had innovative methods for teaching mathematics. When I was a math student, it always bothered me that so many of my classmates hated math, and we are starting to deal with that. We have there's a new generation of science standards that have led to a new way of teaching science. So, and then came COVID on top of that. Fortunately, we were prepared with technology. We were prepared to be one-on-one. We were prepared to go out and help each family have the wireless support that they needed. And it is in supporting our teachers and our school employees during this high transition time and during emergencies like the pandemic that is the most important challenge facing any educational institution.
Thank you. Same question for candidate Felton. What are the major issues facing TUSD and how can we overcome them?
Coming out of the pandemic, we did notice that students all have learning loss. And so there was an effort to be made with the intent of narrowing the gap of this learning loss in the classroom, and it's called equity grading. And so what this creates is a problem where we have a lowered standard of grading in the classroom. So, for example, a Spanish class in a local high school here in Tustin estimates that if you get an 80% on a class, you receive an A. And so is that proficiency or not? Is that student really earning an A? I take a real issue with that. Another area that I have issues with is transparency within the district as well. I want to see curriculum. I want to see what's being taught in the classroom. The parents have no transparency in here. So for looking at these issues that are facing Tustin, we need to focus on accountability, transparency, and how we're grading these students and preparing them for the real world.
The next question is for the two candidates for mayor. And the question is, what kind of leadership styles and philosophies would you bring to the position of mayor? First is candidate Lombard.
Well, I'd bring to the position what I've already brought to it as the current mayor of Tustin, and that is transparency, availability, openness, and frankly, serving all residents of Tustin. You cannot serve as a mayor of a city and only listen to one side on an issue. You have to balance it. You have to work with your council colleagues. And in fact, since we're going to move to district elections, mayor will be the only position in the city of Tustin directly elected by all the residents of Tustin. So you're going to have 4 district council members who are, responsible for the whole city, but they're really beholden to their voters in their district. The mayor will be balancing those interests, making prudent decisions for the betterment of Tustin as a whole.
Candidate Becky Gomez, what kind of leadership styles and philosophies would you bring to the position of mayor?
Well, I've lived in several places in California, but I chose to raise my family here because I believe in this community and what it represents. I've invested my time and my volunteer efforts to make this community better long before I was in elected office. What I bring is the ability to work with different groups. I've led different groups. I've solved problems. When I see a problem, I want to solve it. I have a background in business, education, and public service, and that gives me the depth and experience for the position. I listen to people, I take into account what they have to say, and from there, we can make good decisions. But again, transparency is the key to any decision-making. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is for the two city council candidates. And the question is, what are the characteristics of your district and how do you manage serving its needs and the city at large? First, candidate Schnell.
Sure, thank you very much. So characteristics, safe is definitely one. It's part of the reason why my family and I moved here. Family-oriented, friendly. It's their characteristics of Tustin and specifically our district. It's prosperous. Again, we are blessed with an abundance of prosperity in this town. It's rustic And it's historic. I mean, it's got that wonderful small town feel. And I think it's critical that when voters go to the polls on November 8th, that they think about the town that they have, the things they love, and then think about those things that we want to maintain as we move forward further down in the 21st century. So, thank you.
Thank you. Same question, candidate Frank Gomez. What are the characters of your district, characteristics, and how do you manage serving its needs in the city at large?
Yeah, when I first read this, when these information was sent to us, I read characters, and certainly we do have a lot of characters in our district. But certainly, we've walked from, Laurelwood to Heritage Park, to Tustin Ranch, to Peters Canyon. Tustin is a model United Nations. I mean, the diversity is our strength, and there's beauty, and it's just wonderful to see that in the different neighborhoods that we've walked. And it takes leaders with experience and vision to view this as an opportunity to form a strong community throughout both of the district as well as Tustin as a whole. One thing, though, which singles us out compared to the other areas of Tustin is the gates. A very heavily gated community. But I look at it this way. The many gates of District 3 should neither hinder our ability to reach out to each other, nor weaken our resolve to strengthen our community as a whole. So I think when elected, I will try to at least ghost-wise break down those gates and really find ways that people can reach out to each other going forward. Thank you.
Thank you all. That is the end of the prepared questions. Next, you'll have an opportunity to present a closing statement. Any last remarks to the voters? You'll have a minute and a half to do that. First is candidate Schnell.
Thank you. Again, I want to take time and thank everybody. Thank you very much for moderating, and for all the folks in the audience that have taken time away from your families to be here tonight and listen to our priorities and our vision as public servants. So, I'm doing this, as I mentioned in the beginning. I'm just like you. I'm a dad. I'm a husband. I'm a member of this community, and I really want to make sure that Tustin continues to stay safe and it continues to thrive. I've had the opportunity in the 10 years I've been here to provide service in a multitude of ways, serving on the Tustin Public Schools Foundation Board, on the Tustin Superintendent Advisory Board, where we would make recommendations on curriculum for the schools. The School Side Council, I've been a softball coach for my daughter. I've been a classroom dad, and I've gotten to really know, like Dr. Gomez just said, about the tapestry that is Tustin. It is a very diverse and beautiful community. But talking about the beauty of the community and talking in platitudes about things we need to get done, we really need to make sure that when we have a plan, that we follow through and that we deliver on that plan. My background in business, as a small business owner, I'm able to establish realistic goals, put a plan in place, collaborate with a team, execute, and get things done. And that's what I expect to do when I'm elected to the City Council. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is candidate Frank Gomez.
I state again, experience, leadership, and character. Remember those words when you vote, now and up until November 8th. I've lived here for about 10 years. My wife for a little more than 20 years now. And it is really a wonderful town. It's a beautiful town. And I have embraced it to the utmost. Our kids, 4 of them now, are in college. It costs a few dollars to do that. One in law school, one in grad school, and they're spaced all over the United States, and the littlest one now in high school. It has been a great place for them to grow up. I think, though, going forward, it's important to show a comparison here. Becky and I have a combined 18 years of public service, 6 elections that we have won in some way. So you do the comparison. So drawing on a baseball analogy, it's the bottom of the 9th, and you have a choice of playing your best players with MLB experience or those just brought up from the minors. Who would you choose? So come join our team for District 3. If you care about Tustin, your kids, there's ample room under our tent. God bless Tustin, God bless America, and God bless our troops.
Thank you. Next is candidate Lombard.
Thank you. I want to thank everybody that's here again for taking time out of your lives, your busy lives, to care about what's happening in Tustin. You know, we all love our town and things are going well, but you care about the future, and I hope I'm part of that and serving you for the next 4 years. And thank you for everybody watching online. I was gonna say that, you know, these forums have a tendency to sometimes get a little chippy. I think tonight was generally civil. There were a couple comments that were inappropriate, but in general, the candidates up here want to serve our community, and it's not about us, you know, fighting each other. It's about what our vision is for the town. I've been honored and humbled to serve the last year as Tustin's mayor. I look forward to being elected and serving for the next 4 years. And why it's important to me is, you know, this is a personal thing for the Lombards. I already mentioned my 5 kids, didn't mention by name, but Aubrey, Jack, Wyatt, Hunter, and Riley, who just had her first birthday. We are here to stay. We have 3 kids in Tustin Unified, 2 more that are coming up soon. My parents are in the audience right there. They live in Tustin Legacy. My brother-in-law's family lives up in Tustin Ranch. We have been part of this community. We're currently on the sports fields. We are currently in the schools. And as much as you want to talk about past experiences, we are here. We are a fabric of the community, and I want to continue serving you. So please vote Lombard for mayor 2022. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is candidate Becky Gomez.
First of all, I want to thank everybody for being here, and I want to thank all the candidates for showing up and participating in tonight's forum. One of the things I feared when we went to district elections and the directly elected mayor is the ugly turn that the campaign season has brought. We haven't seen this kind of campaigning for over a decade. Tustin was recently ranked number 12 among 25 of the best places to live for families by Fortune. It was from over 2,000 cities in the United States. The Best Cities distinction should be honored and protected and was achieved over a number of years, and councils who made policy decisions and staff who carried them out to ensure a vibrant community. Deceptive campaign mailers go to the integrity of the candidates and do not show the values that brought us to this recognition. We need to have leaders who will run on their records and not resort to half-truths and innuendos. We need a mayor and council members who have integrity and who will serve the people throughout the city with honor and dignity. As I have served, I've met many people in various parts of the city who love this city and the activities that we provide. They wanted to see us grow, but they also want to see us continue that small town feeling, but to grow responsibly. I listen to the constituents of this city, whether I agree or not, but listen to their point of view. Tustin needs a mayor and council who have a demonstrated track record of accomplishments in various areas. I hope to represent Tustin with that honor and dignity, because leadership matters. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is candidate Felton.
I want to thank everyone for coming tonight and for Tustin Chamber of Commerce for hosting this event. I plan to represent our residents and our taxpayers that invest in the education of our future. You know, Tustin is a wonderful place to live, and we have one focus as a school board, and that's to put education first and put our kids first. My opponent has had 20 years to make Tustin awesome on the school board, and there are still many problems that I need to get on the board and help solve, because I have 2 kids in the school district, and there are many problems to always solve. I've been a leader in my volunteer groups for the last 20 years. I've started a 501c3 nonprofit organization for my son's best friend who got a brain tumor and needed fundraising. And so I started that as an action item. I'm an energetic parent. I do whatever it takes to put kids first. I do intend to work on the declining enrollment in Tustin. You know, we've lost almost 10% of our enrollment in the last several years. And so if we were to put Tustin on the map, which we are on the map, let's make it where parents are not pulling their kids out of the district, and let's make it the best school district as well as the best place to live.
Thank you. Next, candidate Davis.
You've heard tonight about the quality of our schools, not only from Forbes, but from each of the 2 candidates for mayor. We are a top quality district, and it has been the honor of my life to serve and to be serving on the school board here and being part of making this a very high performing educational organization. And that's important to you even if you don't have kids in school. Because even if you don't have kids in school, our success results in lower crime, better health care opportunities, longer life expectancy, higher property values, and a younger generation that is more prepared to buy our houses at the prices we like to sell them for when we're ready. I ask you to trust my proven experience in bringing Tustin Unified to its ever higher levels of performance and support my reelection, as do the classroom teachers and the school employees of this district. And that's because we support them, not only in educational issues, but by the end of this month, every employee will have had hands-on training on what to do in the case of a school intruder. Through it all, we've had a challenging 5 years, and through it all, we've led the way in student success, outperforming students throughout Orange County and California in college readiness, career awareness, math proficiency, and innovation. I've talked about how my role as a corporate CFO and Harvard MBA enables me to contribute. In challenging times, our district, parents, students, and community deserve experienced leadership.
All right, thank you. Thank you all. And now I turn it over to Nathan Yergin, President of the Tustin Chamber of Commerce.
Can we give a round of applause to all the candidates, please? And can we give a round of applause for our moderator tonight who did a wonderful job, Melody Mosley? Thank you so much for being here. Tustin Chamber will have the recording of the evening on our YouTube channel as soon as possible. I'd like to invite everybody out to the lobby for some refreshments, a little meet and greet. If some of the candidates have time, I know they're busy and they have their own schedules. But yeah, thank you so much for attending, and everybody have some water and have a nice night, okay? Thank you.